When people speak of the Ottoman Empire, they imagine armies, sultans, and the fall of Constantinople. But the truth is far stranger and far more profound. This empire did not begin with a nation. It did not begin with a dynasty claiming ancient legitimacy. It began with a vow made by men who chose to live, fight, judge, and die according to Islam. They were not yet Ottomans. They were not yet an empire. They were simply a frontier community. Turks, Persians, Albanians, Greeks, Slavs, Arabs, any believer who sought justice and purpose under the shade of Islam. Muslim scholars describe them as Ghaziyan al-Islam, the warriors of justice on the frontier, and Western historians, even those who were not sympathetic, admit the same. The British historian Paul Vitek wrote, "The Ottoman state was, from its birth, a Ghazi state, a polity built upon the ideal of fighting for Islam." So the story of the Ottoman Empire does not begin with a throne. It begins with an intention, and all of history changed because of it. The 13th century was chaos. The Seljuk Sultanate of Rum was collapsing. The Mongols had shattered every frontier state. Villages fled westward into Anatolia, searching for protection. Armies, tribes, refugees, scholars, and Sufi sheikhs moved through a land where no central power remained. This collapsed world created two forces that shaped Ottoman beginnings: a spiritual revival led by Sufi teachers and Muslim scholars, and a militarized frontier where justice and survival depended on strong local leaders. Among these small frontier bands was a tribe led by a quiet, disciplined man named Ertugrul. Muslim chroniclers like Ashik Pashazadeh describe him simply, "a man of taqwa who loved justice and protected the oppressed." His people were few, but they had what others did not: discipline, unity, and faith. When Ertugrul died, leadership passed to his son, Osman. Osman had no palace, no court, no treasury. He ruled from a tent on horseback among his people. What made him different was not wealth, nor noble lineage. It was conviction. According to early Ottoman chronicles, Osman made a vow: "We shall live by the law of Islam. We shall govern by justice. We shall not turn away those who seek refuge." This is not mythology. This is political reality, because Osman's small band attracted everyone: Muslim warriors seeking the frontier, Sufi mystics seeking a ruler who respected Islamic law, local Christian peasants exhausted by Byzantine taxation, and refugees fleeing Mongol brutality. Ottoman identity at this early stage was not ethnic. It was moral. It was defined by loyalty to Islam and loyalty to Osman. The historian Colin Imber notes, "Ottoman identity in the beginning was not ethnic. It was defined by allegiance to Islam and to Osman. This is why they grew. But growth alone is not destiny. Destiny requires a spark." One night, Osman visited the home of the scholar Sheikh Edebali, one of the most respected Sufi teachers of the region. Historical sources, both Ottoman and Byzantine, narrate a famous dream. Osman saw a moon rise from Edebali's chest and enter his own. From Osman's navel grew a vast tree whose branches covered the world, whose roots fed rivers that brought life to distant lands. When Osman awoke, Edebali interpreted the dream. "Allah will grant your descendants sovereignty. You will protect the oppressed. Justice will be your foundation." Whether literal or symbolic, this dream became the spiritual mandate of the Ottoman dynasty. More importantly, it gave Osman's followers a mission. They were no longer simply warriors or refugees, they were a cause, and the frontier listened. The earliest Ottoman territory was tiny, barely a few villages, but Osman's reputation for justice traveled far. Byzantine sources recount a striking episode. A Christian widow came to Osman seeking justice after a Byzantine noble murdered her husband. Despite the political risk, Osman executed the murderer and compensated the widow. This stunned the region. A Muslim judge delivering justice to a Christian woman when even her own rulers ignored her? This was new, and it attracted thousands. Islamic governance became the glue. Not ethnicity, not tribal loyalty, but justice itself. The Ottomans became known for lower taxes than Byzantine rulers, protection of churches and monasteries, fair courts for Muslims and Christians, and stability in a time of chaos. The Byzantine chronicler Pachimeres wrote reluctantly, "Many Christians preferred the rule of Osman to that of their own emperors. By 1320, the Ottomans controlled a chain of frontier towns. Their next great test was the fortress city of Bursa. This was no raid. This was a siege that required discipline, patience, organization, diplomacy, and faith. Osman did not live to see its fall. His son, Orhan, completed the conquest in 1326. This event reshaped history. The Ottomans now had a capital. They captured silk workshops, the empire's first economic engine. They proved they were no longer a tribal band, but a state. The historian Halil İnalcık writes, "The conquest of Bursa marks the true birth of the Ottoman Empire." But the conquest also revealed something deeper. The first thing Orhan built was not a palace, not a fortress. He built a mosque, a madris, a school of Islamic law, a soup kitchen for the poor, a public bath, and a courthouse. This is how the Ottomans governed: a judge in every town, mosques at the center of civic life, protection for non-Muslims under Islamic law, learning and charity institutionalized from the beginning. Their legitimacy was not rooted in ethnicity. It was rooted in Islamic governance. As the Ottomans expanded, they rapidly absorbed diverse communities: Arabs, Persians, Kurds, Balkan converts, Turkic tribes, and later Greek Muslims. And none were forced. The frontier functioned like gravity. Anyone who desired Islamic justice could join. This is why scholars called them al-Dawla al-Aliyah, the exalted state, al-Dawla al-Islamiyah, the Islamic state, and later al-Dawla al-Uthmaniyah, the Ottoman state. Even Western historians like Caroline Finkel note, the Ottomans absorbed many peoples not by force, but because they offered better governance. By the mid-14th century, the Ottomans dominated northwest Anatolia. Then came a turning point no one could have predicted. In 1352, a Byzantine civil war erupted. One faction begged the Ottomans for help. They granted the Ottomans the fortress of Gallipoli as payment. For the first time, the Ottomans crossed into Europe. From there, something extraordinary happened. Muslims from Anatolia settled in the Balkans. Local Christians converted voluntarily. Taxes fell. Security improved. The Ottoman state was no longer a frontier band. It was a rising Islamic power guided by scholars, law, charity, and justice. Their rulers were described by Muslim scholars as the shadow of God on earth, protectors of the oppressed. And the people, Muslims and Christians, acknowledged it. The Ottomans did not rise because they were Turkish. They did not rise because they were conquerors. They rose because they embodied a unifying idea at a time when the world was fractured. Islam was not an accessory. It was the structure, the law, the moral authority, the system of justice, the protection of minorities, the promise of order. And Osman's vow became a civilization, from a tent on the frontier to a world empire. And this is only the beginning, because next comes something even more astonishing: how a tiny community of believers built a machine of governance, faith, and discipline so powerful that it reshaped 3 continents for 6 centuries.